Bukayo Saka in! Anthony! Salah, beautiful from Aubameyang! Bang! There goes Haaland. He's on.
Hello, happy new year, and welcome to the first episode of the Locker Room right here on Top 6 Fan TV this 2023. And with me in the studio for this one, we're running solo, but it's a heavyweight back in the studio, in the virtual studio, I should say. Mr. Sly, Lalu, Mr. Chelsea, you are most welcome, sir. Welcome back from my country, they call Kamole. Yeah. What's up, man?
Matthew, thanks a lot, man. It's really happy New Year, first of all, to you. Happy New Year to the fans, to all the listeners. It's been a while, but it's really, really good to be back.
Fantastic, man. You're looking good as well, man. I hope you're.
We try.
I really hope you're staying strong because your boys in blue aren't doing too good. So far in the league. Yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Get into that. Yeah. So if you're just joining, feel free to hit the like button. Feel free to hit the subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to the show. We've been away just before the World Cup. And a lot of us have been taking some time off as well. But we're back in full force right now. And a number of fantastic results that we've been keeping an eye on over the past week or so since the English Premier League return. And today we'll definitely just do a quick review and just touch base on some of the fortunes of the traditional top six, should I call it, and growing increasingly under pressure to use the term traditional top six because it's been broken now with Chelsea in 10th and Newcastle in 3rd. Everything's been thrown into the air. So yeah, man. So it's going to get a bit interesting. And we'll get right into it. I mean, Sly, it's I don't even know what to say, man. It's been quite an interesting ride so far, or thus far, should I say. And looking at the current state of the English Premier League table, man, look at that. Pull this from the English Premier League site, so credit to them. But just reviewing the table, I mean, we'll go team by team. But I mean, just looking at it, usually we'd be interested in the first six, right? We're forced to review the first 10, my brother. We're forced to review the first 10 because number 10.
Are these guys going to stop?
Number 10 is the boys in blue, conveniently located boys in blue, man. So I'm wondering what what's going on at Stamford Bridge, and we'll go into that. But before we do, very briefly, Arsenal sitting at top of the table, 44 points. 17 games played. Man City, 17 games played as well. And of course, you do have Newcastle, the surprise package, sitting in 3rd, right? On 35 points level with Man United, who played a game less. Obviously, Newcastle's form slowing down. If you look at the last 5, those traffic lights that you see at the right-hand side of your screen is the last 5 games. Arsenal, obviously.
Performance.
Yeah, not the last 5. Well, they haven't lost in the last 5. There's 2 draws for Newcastle. They won the 3 before that. Arsenal just drew once, won the 4 before that. City have had a mixed bag of results, but are hanging in there. A win, their last one, a draw before that, a win before that, a loss, then a win. So it's blowing hot and cold. Man United, who are in 4th, seem to be on the up. Yeah, last 4 on the bounce. Spurs are also blowing hot and cold. I mean, 2 losses. Yeah, we'll talk about Antonio Conte's moans of late. And then Liverpool, who, interesting, the last 5 matches have been on a little bit of a resurgence themselves.
It's a bit of a consistency.
Just lost. Yeah, they just lost the last one, but they won the last 4 before that, albeit not very convincingly. But they did, put the points on the board. And then we'll skip Fulham, Brighton, Brentford, and go to our beloved Chelsea, who, before I go into
that's
a
not even
review,
blowing
rest in peace,
cold.
right?
That's just blowing cold.
Yeah, man, you guys are blowing hot and cold. But just before that, rest in peace to legend Gianluca Vialli, man, passing away unfortunately from cancer. Our thoughts with his family, but very, very. We're talking about influence of players, right? Slide.
Yeah,
just
we were
before we
talking
went
about
by. And I mean, what was Vialli coming to Chelsea from Juventus, having won the Champions League with Juventus and helping them to a number of domestic trophies. Of course, Zola followed thereafter. And,
I mean, we had that Italian movement that came in with Di Matteo, Zola,
right.
And especially just to speak on Vialli, he was very, when you want to talk about influence, because he was one of the first times I remember seeing a player manager. He would man. and he would be playing all around. And when you look at his stats, it's like, 80 odd games for the club, over 40 goals for the club. You know what I mean? Those are great returns when you look at it statistically alone,
Right.
And especially, I think with him coming to Chelsea, it then started to pave the way for other more renowned players to actually be like, hey, you know what? Why not? Let me maybe finish my career there. Let me open the door for that. And I mean, true club legend in my eyes, and he will definitely be sorely missed. And he was a decent commentator as well, he was a decent pundit, when he'd always have like
decent assistant coach as well, right? Helping Italy to the Euros, Mancini's assistant coach. Yeah, so yes, he'll be greatly missed. Rest in peace, Gianluca Vialli. So yeah, like we're saying with regards to the form, I mean, look at that Chelsea form. Lost the last one, obviously against City. Although they did play, to be fair, they did play, I think, a little bit better than City in that game. Just depleted by injuries. I don't know what's going on with your midfield, but Sterling, Mount, Pulisic, all getting injured.
Chile
I think Ziyech. Did Ziyech also get out? Was Ziyech?
No. Yeah, but he wasn't as serious as the other players.
The others, yeah. So it's not looking too good for Chelsea. I mean, in terms of the race, there is still time. I mean, to be honest, we're like what? 2-3 games away from the halfway stage of the season.
Yeah.
So this in run of like 10 wins will get you into the top 6. So I think, but the only challenge is that needs to start happening very soon. Very, very soon. And with the injuries you have.
I think that's kind of the biggest challenge that we're having right now is that you've got it's first of all, it's been a very it's been an odd season with the World Cup break and everything happening in between.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit unusual. It's like it reminds me a bit of the COVID season, when playing behind closed doors. So I think it becomes a lot harder for teams to kind of get into their stride, which, I mean, one of the reasons why I would commend Arsenal and the job that Arteta is doing over there, because they've managed to maintain that momentum, and they've carried it through even into the break. Arsenal players at the World Cup did really well with the likes of Saka standing out quite obviously, and then being able to hit the ground running again. Yes, there was the draw against Newcastle. That was a blip, but then now it's a draw against what is looking like your closest rival. Like one of your closest rivals. So I wouldn't even take that as such a bad thing, in the sense that one, it's going to remind the players that, hey, you know what? Because the thing with Arsenal is, of course, they also have a very young squad. So it's also important that where's that sense of maturity going to come from? When you're playing and you're winning, you almost start to get overly confident. And every now and again, you do need that kind of reminder to say, hey, you know what? You're not invincible. You can be touched.
Right.
And I think that this draw actually works in their favor in that regard, because now I think they're gonna go back. They're gonna go back when they come out into their next game. They're gonna know that, hey, you know what? We're actually vulnerable. We can be touched, so we need to, maintain that standard.
Game, man.
Exactly. So
maintain that standard.
Full credit to them for
brilliant.
I know.
Yeah, man, and of course, Arsenal. It's FA Cup weekend, so Arsenal are playing away to Oxford United. You expect a second string team in there because next weekend is the North London Derby away to Tottenham. So that's going to be an interesting game for the Arsenal. And they're looking lightweight up front. So it could go both ways, right? The result against Newcastle, an eye opener for them, but also could be one that highlights their lack of depth. Especially with regards to their forward line and how they react to that. I think in the January transfer window, this particular January transfer window is quite pivotal for them. I think, and they had the same issues, right? Last January transfer window, Aubameyang leaving for Barcelona. They chose not to invest in another striker. You sort of went ahead with Lacazette and. What's his name? And Nketiah, and then relying on the other guys to chip in with a few goals, which happened for a bit. But when it came to the most crucial periods, when they needed to put some decent performances in, some crucial performances in to just nick, they were just 3 points away from
turning those draws into wins.
Draws and losses, man. There's like 3 losses: Brighton, Southampton, and there's Newcastle in there, and there was another one. I think it was Crystal Palace. So it was crazy. 4 losses.
As much as they're sitting at the top now, if you really look at it, City are blowing hot and cold, but they are 5 points behind. That's 2 games. That's 2 games.
And actually, Arsenal have not played City, so they have 2 games to play against City.
and we all know once that City train starts chewing, it just
man. I'm worried about that Chelsea result. It could be the catalyst for City.
Let's keep the faith a little bit, because you see the thing is also it's when we look at other areas of the pitch in terms of conceding, scoring goals. City are letting in a bit more goals than they normally have. They're not being as dominant as they have. And I think even with that Chelsea game, with the form that we're in, I was worried about the thrashing. I was worried because first of all, I didn't know which team Potter was going to put out, because we never do until game day. And second of all, it's City, and they've got class all over the pitch. So it was, and like you said at the top of the show, we gave them a good run for their money, but they nicked it. And of course,
those guys, they're able to bring in like what 160 million pounds from the bench, right? Grealish and Mahrez to win the game. I mean, no, that's strength in depth. I'm looking at Arsenal and my guy, man. If Nketiah gets injured, the guys are looking. Arteta is looking at like Brock Norton, Coffee in there, man. So, there's no one. I don't know if
I really truly trusted. I personally feel like right now, the manager has proven himself at Arsenal. And I think it's important for them to go into the transfer market and sign maybe 2 or 3 mature players, serial players, and just bring them in to just kind of, keep that momentum.
Keep that fire burning,
Because if they don't, and like you said, yes, we're languishing as Chelsea, we're languishing in 10th, but you gotta look at. There's a lot of issues at the club at the moment, and when we speak specifically about what's happening on the pitch, it's injuries galore. Most of these guys that are injured are starting players. The likes of Reece James really hurts, because those are players that are like catalysts. Guys that are like Mason Mount. Sterling has just come in and maybe to get a bit of, Chile has been excuse me, Chile has been injured for a long time and so forth. So it's
right.
That has a knock-on effect of what's happening on the team, because what happens all of a sudden is when you're so used to playing with these 11 players, you almost play subliminally. You know this person is making this run, and you can make blind passes and so forth. But as soon as one person gets injured, it's like a domino effect, because this new person, and now all of a sudden
there's no telepathy, man.
Yeah, that telepathy kind of goes out of the window a little bit,
Right.
So I mean, it's the pros and cons of having a small squad, because the telepathy, like you said, comes a lot quicker when you have a smaller squad, because you're working so tight and closer together and you're playing together more often. But then on the other side of the coin is, of course, if one or two of them gets injured, then it becomes an issue. And then now, when the cups start kicking in, FA Cup kicking off this weekend, then we've got Champions League coming up in January, Europe kicking off in January, things like that. Then the games become intensified. Then you're playing 2-3 a week. Then it becomes a bit of an issue,
It becomes a bit of an issue. And I expect it's going to become rough for the Arsenal as well. I mean, the next game, like we mentioned, is against Spurs away. And thereafter, they welcome Manchester United to the Emirates. So it's going to be an interesting next 2 games. And then they're away to Everton, who will obviously be under pressure. So Mr. Frankie there, man. Lamps is going to park that bus, man. And then they welcome Brentford to the Emirates Stadium. So that's the next 5 games.
You never know what you're going to get with Brentford.
No. The fifth game after Brentford is Arsenal versus Manchester City at the Emirates. So the next 5 games are quite interesting.
They've got a rough next couple of months, huh?
Rough next 5 games. If you're looking at that and comparing it.
And after that, you've got Europa coming in, right?
Yeah, you have Europa coming in. And if you're looking at City, who are in second place, right? Guardiola there, it's quite pensive, right? But if you're looking at Manchester City's next 5 games, is interesting as well, because after the FA Cup next weekend, they are away at Old Trafford. And that's going to be an interesting one. I think. Yeah, and thereafter, they welcome Spurs to the Etihad. After that, they have Wolves coming over to the Etihad. That's the 3rd. They have a return leg against Spurs away. That's coming thick and fast, week 1 of Feb. And then the 5th game is they host Aston Villa before going to Arsenal. So that's going to be interesting.
So it's almost if you throw in the FA Cup quarterfinal, or rather the EFL Cup final quarterfinal in there as well. Then you've kind of got, Southampton, you'd expect them to win that. Manchester Derby, that's going to be a bit of a tough game. Tottenham could be a tough game. Wolves, you expect them to win there. Then they're back at Tottenham again. So you expect it. So they've also got a few, I mean, in comparison to Arsenal,
you can see a couple of draws in there.
Yeah. There's a few in there that could, disrupt the status quo.
The momentum.
Yeah, but I think Arsenal's next 5 are a lot tougher for them than City.
I think so as well. Because especially the immediate next 2, Spurs and United. Spurs, United, and then Everton. If Lamps is not sacked by that time, then there's going to be some crazy bus packing there, man.
And the thing is, you should hope he doesn't get sacked, because if he does get sacked, you know how always when the new manager comes in, there's always that
new manager bounce, eh?
2-3 games, everyone is up for it, so it becomes a bit tricky. But it's not true. So.
And in 3rd place, you have the surprise package.
Wow.
The Magpies doing very, very well, man, this season. Miguel Almiron, Eddie Howe.
No, not Eddie Howe. The thing about this Newcastle, I remember we spoke on it when the takeover initially first came, and the expectation was they would take the same route as Chelsea, as City, and go out there and spend like maybe 300-400 million and bring in top players. I mean, I remember seeing online there was
a top manager as well.
That were there, with Hazard even being over there, and there was so much fanfare around it. And of course, bringing in a top manager, like you said. but they've gone the completely opposite route, you know. And a lot of the teams, they brought in a couple of guys, the likes of Trippier and whatnot, are doing very well. But essentially, there's not really been that much of a difference. You wouldn't describe them as a club that has just acquired by a consortium of, you know, really, really wealthy people.
Right.
The business that they're doing on the, I think, is purely the manager and kind of the players. I don't even know where that motivation is coming from. Maybe it's it's a case of everyone expected us to go and spend money in order to succeed. Let's prove them wrong. I don't know, but what they're doing right now, I think, is amazing.
I think so too. I'd put it down to, I mean, Eddie Howe, this guy.
Yeah.
I think it's something. He's in addition to what you just mentioned. I think there is credit, or quite a bit of credit, that must go to Eddie Howe, because I mean, just the sheer improvement he has been able to have in terms of impact on some players. I mean, Almiron, Joe Linton, you know, Trippier, who's been good as well, but building up a solid defense. 6'5" Dan Ban in defense with Sven Botman and Fabian Schär as well. I mean, Fabian Schär is also one of those who's been greatly improved because he was there before, right? If you look at the team, these guys had long stuff on the pitch against Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, this is like what, 8 out of those 11 players were Steve Bruce's players, man. And they were staring down relegation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I'm looking at it and thinking, God, man.
And now they can dream of it. They should actually. I feel like they will comfortably finish in Europe. I don't think they can maintain this momentum because there is a certain pressure that comes with it. What might work for them is the fact that, you know, if they can get themselves out of the FA Cup rather quickly, you know, and just kind of focus in on the league, you know, they're not in Europe, so that players can rest, they can spend a bit more time prepping for games and things like that. I think they might be able to, at least I feel like they deserve to finish in the top 6. I don't see them being able to maintain the current situation that they're in, purely because, you know, when you look at even the table as it stands right now, they're joint points with Man United. United have a game in hand, you know. And in terms of the form over the last 5 games, you know, it's they've got a solid form, you know, drawn the last 2, won the previous 3, but United have the more positive form going into it, you know. And even Tottenham, they're only 2 points behind in terms of, but they play the same amount of games, you know. Liverpool are only 7 points behind, but they've played 1 less game. So I do see them being like kind of the best of the rest, so to speak, in terms of being able to come up and at least finish within the top 6. But as much as we will want to see the Leicester fairy tale type scenarios taking place, it's really not. We have to also be realistic about what is actually feasible. And again, like you mentioned at the top of the show, we're 17, 18 games in. We're not even halfway through the season yet, you know, and a lot in that time. Yeah.
Where do you see them finishing ultimately at the end of the season?
Honestly, if they finish top 6, I think it'll be like amazing. But I see them finishing in the top 10. They'll definitely finish in the top half of
top
the table,
10.
I think.
No, Sly, really?
Also,
with that defense, you know, they have the best defense in the league at the moment, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's you know, I believe in the idea of pedigree also. You know, I think pedigree is also very strong. You know, and if they're where they are now, if instead of 18 games we were 28 games in, right?
Right.
We still got 20 games to go right now.
Right.
We still got 20 games to go. And
that's a lot of games, man.
That's a lot of games. 20 games.
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. You know, that's essentially 60 points that we're fighting for. You know, and so like I as much as I see where things are, and I think it's also the same kind of scenario with Arsenal. It's like it's about how can you kind of maintain that kind of momentum. I personally think that if they also don't invest in this January window, I'll give them top 10. Honestly, I'll comfortably give them top 10. I think there's a good chance of them finishing within the European spaces in terms of top 6.
I think I mean, just looking at how they've been playing and the kind of organization they have and the kind of form and consistency they've had in the last few games, although we have a lot of games going, I think yes, they will drop, but I don't think they'll drop out of the top 6. I think there'll be too much pressure on them to finish in the top 4. I feel between let's say I don't think Arsenal is going to win it. I think Man City will pip Arsenal. Arsenal will finish like second, probably second if they continue playing, if they're not hugely affected by their lack of depth. They'll finish second. But then, between third and fourth is going to be quite hot. And I see, there's Man United, Spurs, between Man United, Spurs, and Liverpool, those three are going to be blowing so hot, it will be difficult for Newcastle to stay up within. So
already now, that alone has taken them down to 6th. Right?
Yeah, that alone is, I don't see them finishing ahead of United on current form. Spurs will blow hot and cold, but they'll stay in and around. But Liverpool, I'm looking at Liverpool, man. They seem a bit rattled and disorganized at the moment. But I mean, going by the performances over the last couple of seasons, guys are more than capable of putting a 10 game winning run together.
Definitely.
Yes, which only City out of all that top 6 or 7, which only City is able to do, right? They're the only ones who have been able to go toe to toe. Yes, they're having teething issues at the moment, but when they start firing, it's going to be a problem, and they will fire. There's just too much pressure on them.
For the life of me, I still really just do not understand the decision behind selling Mane, and
that as well.
I don't think he wanted to go. I think he was somewhat forced out because he was not seeing his efforts being recognized by the powers that be, should I say?
Right.
In terms of, and I mean, it's evident because it's you can now just see those gaps that he used to plug. You know when they say you don't know where you've got until it's gone. In this instance,
man.
They've really seen it, because now there's no one that's really pulling rabbits out of the hat anymore. And I think it's now because that has now put even more pressure on Salah, and the new kid is really also just getting the raw end of the deal because he's
the heat, man. Darwin Núñez, eh?
Yeah. So
you've seen those memes of Darwin Núñez, eh?
Yeah, it's I saw one. Imagine your striking force was Lukaku, Núñez, and Werner, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
Oh man, that's crazy, man.
So cool, you're just like, you're almost even celebrating as they shoot, and you're like, well, how did that not go in?
Lukaku, Núñez, and Timo Werner. Wow.
Oh my God.
No, that is epic, man.
Yeah.
Man.
You have like Pirlo, Fabregas, Jorginho just feeding these guys. They're still gonna need like 20 chances.
These guys will need massive surgery, man. Yeah, man. And speaking of Lukaku and one of his former teams, United, here as well, just touching a bit on them. I mean, they've been doing fantastically well. They're in 4th place. 11 points now with Newcastle, having played a game less. Slowly picking up behind the radar, by the way. They're going undercover.
I like that they've kind of gone. They've got a bit, because they were too much in the limelight in terms of they were just being talked about too much, and especially with the whole Ronaldo saga. That really, and that kind of starts to affect. It does affect the team, whether you like it or not. It does affect the team, and I think they've slowly kind of that's no longer the focus point. They're on the back end. They've been working quite hard and getting their football right. And yeah, I mean, the results speak for themselves, as they say. They just won 3-0. Yeah. Yesterday,
I mean,
they won 3-1 yesterday in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So it's and you're looking at
the results. They won their last 5 games, huh?
They're scoring goals. They're scoring goals.
Marcus Rashford is back and form, man. So that's going to be interesting, right? Yeah, so, and obviously for me, one of the more influential guys over that time has been Mr. Casemiro there in midfield. He's just shown his quality right there. He's steadied the ship. I mean, there's no way him alone. He's equivalent to what's that? Was that Mark Fred? They used to call it McTominay and Fred put together, right? I mean, McFred, when I first heard that, is that like a Mac Burger or something? Like, what's that? It's like, it's a United midfield pair. All right, okay, let's go. The new McFred is out.
But it's like what we were talking about off camera. Huh? When we were off camera, we were talking about, when we were out of studio, we were talking about influence in players,
Influence, yeah.
Casemiro tells you to do something, you're gonna get on your horse and you're gonna do it. Because you're looking at somebody, serial winner, his trophy cabinet speaks for itself. His commitment, and he's one of these players he doesn't just tell you to do something. He will show you, like he will do it himself. Right. He not only vocalizes his leadership, but it's like in his actions, And I think it was one of those areas that, like, it's the way Arsenal struggled to replace Vieira. I think United have also had a struggle with that holding midfield kind of juggernaut kind of a player.
For some time,
Yeah, for some time. And I think, unfortunately, he's a bit senior, but at least for the meantime, at least for the next couple of seasons, I think they've got a gem now.
Yeah, they do. They do, definitely. And moving on to our boys Spurs. I mean, we spoke about influence and Harry Kane in there. He's been banging the goals in quite consistently, by the way. A goal again is doing his usual.
He's always going to score goals. He's always going to bang. My only thing with Harry is like, I don't think the ambitions of the club actually match his talent. I feel like he's going to be one of these players it's like, do you remember like Matt Letizia?
Carragher.
No,
Carragher. You can't even say Carragher because Carragher won a European Cup, man.
Yeah, Carragher is different. Carragher moved and then he went ahead and won trophies and, doing his coaching there on the back end at United. No, you can't. But remember someone like, say, like Matt Letizia. Okay, brilliant football, very skillful. But you really wish he would have gone to like a United or a Real Madrid or, you know what I mean? Or a big club
that would have
truly shine on those kind of stages,
Right.
And I think Harry Kane, after the whole City deal fell through, I think he's kind of just now settled down and he's just kind of accepted his fate and said, you know what, I'll play it out and be a club legend, so to speak, and I'll stay here. With them bringing in
but interestingly, Sly. Interestingly, this summer he has 1 year left on his contract. I don't see him renewing that after what happened last year with City. So could United pounce?
Where would he go?
Man United. They're in for a striker. Seriously. Out of all City, Haaland is sorted now, man. Respect to him. Guy's ball scoring chance. That guy is a beast, man.
That's a machine.
That guy, he's a Terminator. That guy needs to be doing urine samples every match day, man. Check for that, checking for those drugs and stuff, man. Because it's steroid, man. Urine every sample, every match, man. Yeah, but he's an amazing player, anyways. But Harry Kane. If you're looking, United let go of Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Yeah.
Harry Kane. Rashford is carrying them, but they're looking for. They're definitely looking to replace Cristiano Ronaldo, and if they can stick by Sir Alex Ferguson's Robin van Persie template, just bring that one. for me, United changed from bit part team or decent team to genuinely title challenging team next season if they bring in, let's say, Harry Kane, Nigel De Jong, because he's also, I mean, because you can imagine De Jong and Bruno Fernandes playing in front of Casemiro and feeding Rashford, Kane, and let's say Anthony comes to life, right? And then defense, they have Varane and Martinez with De Gea, who De Gea's form is really based on the form. Yeah, so you have that's a team.
The potential recipe is there for the league-winning team.
Exactly. It can challenge, right?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it because we spoke like off camera about the team needing a spine.
Right. Exactly.
And I think with them sidelining Maguire and kind of getting this solid defensive positions right. Casemiro is doing the business in midfield.
Now,
only gap really is now front, right?
Exactly. Tip of the spear. Tip of the spear. If Rashford can keep up with his good form and now start playing off the wing on the front three with Rashford, Kane, and you can now flip between Anthony and Martial and I don't know, maybe Jadon Sancho and whatnot on the other side. But I mean that is a team, man. That is a team with an organizer like Ten Hag, eh? That's a solid team. So let's wait and see. But of late,
you look at
this man has been making headlines.
A bit tough, huh?
United's games.
Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Then they've got City.
Yeah, man.
Fulham is a games coming. But then they've got City again. Then they have Leicester. Right. They're away to AC Milan. So February. So they could see. We could see them actually dropping off that. But this guy is, of course, I think one thing that he's always been asking for is to say, look, listen, give me the money.
More money.
Yeah, just give me the
money. Show me the money.
And he has proven to be a serial winner, and he will deliver. I personally believe if Tottenham back this guy with maybe
another 150 million pounds, man.
Or 150 there, you'll buy 3 or 4 players. And I think that could also now become a decision for Harry Kane to also make, because he's going to be like, okay, so where do I go?
Maybe 1 year to go.
Maybe this team now has the potential to, because you see, like they're always getting into now quarterfinals, semifinals of Champions League. They've gotten to the final in recent years and things like that. So it's like they're on the edge, And I think because our man at the top is a very shrewd businessman, I think the stadium that Levy wanted the stadium to first take precedence. And when you look at what they're doing with the stadium away from football, it's crazy. From the concerts to the boxing to the NFL and what have you. So that in itself is already made. He's happy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it's like we translate level of success. It's like they have a world-class stadium but not a world-class team. You know what I mean? So it's finding that. And if
they need to balance it up.
Yeah, they need to have that balance. I'm
right. My guy, looking at your magical front three of Lukaku, Nunes, and Timo Werner. I mean, solid front three right there. Sly. Liverpool, interesting fortunes this season. I mean, they're 6th, 17 games played, 28 points. A game in hand over Spurs, who are 33, probably be 2 points behind them if they win that one.
Yeah.
And Spurs has a torrid run coming up, right? So Liverpool have a chance to break into the top 4, actually. Top 4, 5.
Very easy. I mean, I can actually see them going and taking that 3rd spot, if I'm perfectly honest. I can see them going in the 3rd with United and between them and United.
Just going on a crazy run, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're drawing right now. United, it's 0-0 in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. They're playing against Wolves, and you know, it's you can see that they don't have as their strength in depth isn't as they, or rather, let's say they lack strength in depth because you know Salah's excuse me, Salah's on the page, Henderson's on the page, Trent is on the page, Alisson's on the page, Robertson, you know, like basically barring 2-3 players, they're playing their first team against Wolves.
Yeah. A few injuries up front, Jota and Diaz are out for a bit. But so Cody Gakpo has come in, right?
Yeah, Gakpo's come in. And so it's you can see, you know, it's something that they had struggled with before. But like I was talking about Arsenal earlier, in terms of when you have a small squad, the chemistry becomes a lot tighter, and what, you know, you get that telepathy aspect of the game. But then the con side is, of course, now when it comes to issues of injuries and things like that, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of challenges. Now, for Liverpool to be fielded this kind of a team in an FA Cup third round game, that says a lot to me in terms of
speaks volumes.
Their lack of that. Yeah, they don't really have so. But when you look at the next few games that they have, Brighton next, then they're hosting Chelsea at home, then it's Wolves, then it's Everton, then it's Newcastle. You know, they're not really juggernaut games that they've got ahead of them. You know, they should ideally be on the board of all of these teams, including Chelsea. You know, like on paper, they should be winning all of these games up until the last stages of Feb when they're playing Real Madrid, which of course now that's obviously up in the air and whatnot. So
that's a big one, man.
That moment where they can start going on that crazy run. You know what I mean? You win today, you win on Saturday, you beat Chelsea, beat Wolves, beat Everton, beat Newcastle. Now you've gone 6 games. That's potentially crazy momentum that they can
build up.
Just go on.
Totally agree.
Chelsea
runs it up. Yeah. Boys at the bridge, man, going through some rough times. Man. What do you guys would give for Timo Werner at this moment?
You know, it's I think we have a huge problem at the club at the moment, and I think it really stems from the overall strategy of the club. As a lifelong Chelsea fan, I don't see what the strategy is. I don't see what the strategy is from a management standpoint. I don't see what the strategy is from what's happening on the pitch. I mean, honestly, like before, like once you're these many games into the season, you at least have somewhat of an idea of, you know, how is it that we're going to be playing our games, which are the starting players and things like that. And to be honest with you, injuries aside, and of course we've had huge issues with injuries, you know. One of my biggest issues with injuries that we've had is Kante. We have not had Kante for such a long time, and he's such a critical player, you know, that you know, his actions have a ripple effect on everyone else around him, you know. And if he has a ripple effect, and he's everywhere, so that means he's literally come. And then there's all these fresh injuries that come up and whatnot. It's been a real challenge. You look at the likes of Reece James, Chilwell. In recent times, our game has always orientated itself around the use of our wing backs. You know, playing that back five with the wing backs booming in, scoring goals, creating assists, and so forth. We haven't really been able to do that. Now you got these owners that come in, and I remember Jonathan, who's on this platform, and Jonathan was saying to me, you know what? Welcome to the world of American owners. And this is when they're first taken over. I was just kind of like, what are you talking about? He's like, don't worry, you'll see. And I see it now, and I don't know what's happening, but there is a certain kind of arrogance of like you don't know this game, you know. I mean, no offense, Ted Bowley or whatever, but like, to be honest with you, as a fan, I see it and I say, you know what, you don't know this game. Yes, fine, you bought the club. Yeah, circumstances presented itself to you that, you know, we had to Abramovich had to sell. He sold. He bought the club. Now, let them do what they're doing.
Right.
When you lose someone like when Bruce Bucks decides to leave, when you lose Czech, when you lose Maria, all of a sudden now you can start to see where all those issues are. Because now Bruce Buck brought leadership top down, you know? Peter Cech bridged the gap between what was happening in the boardroom and what was happening on the pitch. Yeah. Maria was just on signings, you know, making great deals. Players, buying players. Look at what we're doing in terms of transfers. We were talking about it off camera. Look at what we're doing in terms of transfers. We just look around and just
copycat Bowley. Arsenal won Mudryk. How much they're offering? Yeah, they got 40 got turned down. What's the next? Oh, they put in a bid of 50. That's turned down as well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, put 65 in.
There's no strategy there. Now you look at it and you say, okay, you know what? I can see for quite a while, even when Tuchel was still there, we were bringing in a lot of young players. We were rejuvenating the squad, but we were rejuvenating in certain key areas. But now there's no linkage because Cech is not there. There's no linkage between the transfers and what's happening on the pitch. And yet, one of the core reasons they gave for getting rid of Tuchel was that he just wanted to be a coach. He didn't want to be involved in the boardroom. He didn't want to be involved in issues and all of those things. He would rather just meet with Cech. And Bowley wanted somebody that would integrate himself into his management structure. And it's like, okay, now you have it. But clearly, and this is one of the reasons why I've got JT behind me for today's show, because our biggest issue is leadership. You know, our biggest issue is leadership, whether it's on the pitch, because when we're on the pitch, the likes of Thiago Silva are there, great. They lead by example. Koulibaly, he's there also leading by example. But these are not, they're not where the issues are. When we have someone like Aubameyang, who already through our messed up transfer policy somehow gets himself into our team, when we have someone like him also not being, just literally just not bothered. You know what I mean? Like he's just not bothered. Like I would be
there for the money, man. It's retirement time.
I would be
ask the boys in North London.
Subbed off for the same game.
Man.
What's going on with that? You know. So
all of these things. So is Graham Potter the right man? Let me just.
For me personally, I don't think Graham Potter is the right man. I have never. I think he's a great manager. I honestly do. I really do think he's a good manager. But this is a different level.
Not Chelsea material, man.
Yeah, this is a different level. Like we're used with dealing with the creme de la creme. You know what I mean? If you haven't reached the Champions League final, I don't think you should even apply for the job. Do you know what I mean?
So let me ask. You sack Graham Potter. Let's say he loses his next 1 or 2 games. He gets a sack. Who comes in? Similar situation to when you brought Tuchel in, right?
I would honestly, I would get on my knees and go back to Tuchel and go. I swear.
Dude, that's going to be a tough one. Hey.
I'm just joking. Look, here's the thing. Poch is is an option. Yeah? Poch is an option. I think Poch is probably one of the biggest options that's out there that's available, you know.
But break the bank for Zidane. Blockbuster signing.
That's where I was gonna go.
That one.
You know, you bring in like a Zizou or someone like that. Because at the end
you bring in Zizou and give him 300 million. Chelsea will be a problem.
By the time look at the money. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Yo, I didn't know who Enzo was until the World Cup.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah. And even then, I don't think I've seen enough of him to warrant
100 million pounds plus
those fees. You know what I mean? I mean, look at what happened with Rodriguez. The guy tore up the World Cup, right?
Yes. James Rodriguez.
You see, you can't. It's very difficult to base transfers on tournament performance, in my eyes. So you can see consistency in our issues. There is a huge lack of strategy, and there's a huge lack of leadership. And I'm talking from the boardroom, even onto the pitch. So we're really the definition of hot and cold, because you don't know who we're gonna. You know, 1 minute might be this one, but you just never know, you know. So tomorrow we're back playing City again in the FA Cup. So that's, I mean, at least we gave them a decent enough game. Maybe we can, you know, up our game a little bit and see how that goes. Thereafter, we've got a couple of winnable games in terms of Fulham and Crystal Palace. Hopefully that gives us a little momentum into the Liverpool game. After that, again, it's Fulham and West Ham, and then we get into the Champions League. So we have the potential to also go on a bit of a run, you know? When
signings, you need some signings to plug the gaps in terms of injuries.
No, I don't think we need signings. I think one of our biggest issues is just like having a bit of patience, maybe tightening the belt a little bit in terms of what's happening on the pitch, being happy to get away with 1-0 and 2-0 wins and whatnot, as we wait for our players to come back from injury and so forth. Because we have a squad that's Bakayoko still plays for Chelsea, technically. You know what I mean?
Whoa,
our squad is crazy. You look at the likes
the lone
of
army,
Gallagher,
man.
And you know, like they're huge. We have a huge squad, but it's just that the injuries are not really. So now someone like Potter, is he somebody that can then just grab a young player and say, "Hey, this is your chance. Get in there and inspire me. Get in there and you know, be able to have that level of player management to rejuvenate." Because that's what he needs to do right now. Is he needs to get the young guys to come in and fill in those gaps.
Right.
We shall wait and see, I guess.
Oh man, let's wait and see. All the best, man, and we have to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining.
Really a pleasure.
It's like, yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Welcome back. We look forward to seeing more of you in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you've just joined. You can feel free to play back and follow our socials on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and of course YouTube. And we'll be back next time, same place, and have a good rest of the week, people. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers guys. Bye.